a game idea is you need to identify what your business model is, and then compose your pitch to the right sort of people. I think one of the things that we've seen now with the web-based design is that maybe all you just need is some money, and you can get it up like we heard with junk battles onto the internet with no distribution costs, very small marketing costs. You can handle some of these other things. So, but for us, these are things that we typically look for our games. And again, the market is changing. I think we're in a rapid series of change with this generation of consoles getting a little bit older. We're starting to think about what the next generation of consoles will look for, how content will be delivered over those platforms. So once we think we have it all figured out, then we realize that we don't, because another year has gone by. So again, ask yourself when you're pitching what you need to, who you're pitching to, and what your requirements are and what your interests are. Again, when we're pitching to publishers, we're talking about all the cool things that are going to be in the game, our ideas for gameplay. If we were pitching just to, say, a banker or a financier, someone who wanted to invest in a video game, they probably don't care about that. The only thing they care about is how much money are they going to make and what are the risks. Talking a little bit about some of our experiences about the preparation of our pitches. You really need to seek out advice from as many different people as you can. Like I said, we have agents who kind of test the waters in terms of speaking with the publishers and knowing what is saleable in the market and what isn't. For example, it makes no sense for us to try and pitch a game to Microsoft for, say 2013 for a first-person sci-fi shooter-type game, knowing that they're probably going to have another version of Halo coming out that same year. And you need to find out what's going on in the industry, so you're not pitching to someone who thinks that they're going to, with a product that may potentially cannibalize their own products that they either are already developing or are proposing to do. From our perspective, we have to do our homework and make sure, like I said, make sure our pitch reflects the requirements of our audience, and whether that's financiers, whether that is publishers, we have to tailor our pitch. We also have to have a long version and a short version, and we have to be able to talk about our game in terms of, and I think this is good advice for anyone who is actually out there seeking partners. You have to have your elevator pitch. You have to be able to talk about it in 30 seconds and have a very succinct, clear idea of either what your game is, what the value proposition, depending on who you're talking to, and to be able to hook someone in a very short period of time, so you can get those follow-up meetings where you have 20 or 30 minutes to follow up and explain in more detail what you're looking for in a partner. Quality versus quantity. This is an interesting thing that we ran up in when we were working with Dark Sector, and so this is a good piece of advice for anyone who's pitching any sort of video game project. More is not necessarily better. In fact, more is often not that good. We did a full-level playable demo of Dark Sector when we were pitching it early on, and I would say we had about 70% of it worked out. The gameplay wasn't quite where we wanted it to be, but it looked pretty good. But you kind of played through and you kind of realized it really wasn't fun. Some of the AI didn't quite work, but it was big. You could play through this level and it looked good, and it was about 7 or 8 minutes. I think if you even go on YouTube or on game trailers, you might be able to see an annotated version of that early pitch, because we did put it up there. That actually didn't do us any favors to do something like that, and in fact it's cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to make that. What you want, especially on putting together a preliminary game idea, is to put as much into it, but to make it as awesome and eye-catching as possible. You don't want to answer all the questions. You want to leave them asking for more. So 7 minutes of pretty darn good, as opposed to 58 seconds of holy crap. Which do you want? You want to really pump up and polish your 58 seconds and get something awesome. And that's a lesson that we actually learned at DE a few years ago. Depending on what you're going to do, whether it's a console game or a PC game or even an iPhone game, the more you can bring to the table is usually better. And they're asking for more, to be quite honest. These days for us, they're asking for prototypes, so if we want to make a really good prototype of a game, you know, it costs a lot of money for something that may actually never be picked up. I would say in the old days, up until even a few years ago, you could come in with a really good design doc and some concept art, and you could get some traction with publishers in terms of, okay, tell me more, let's take these discussions to the next stage. But now you pretty much have to be geared up, whether you've got an iPhone game or whatever, to be able to show them a little piece of what this game is going to be. But like I said, that little piece has to be good. Paper probably won't cut it anymore. And as well, I think what I've seen in a lot of pitches is you need to, depending on who you're talking to, you need to know what you want from your partner, and you need to ask for it. I've seen so many pitches, people walk away and they've thrown a really cool idea on the table, and they really haven't stated what they want their partners to do. So make sure you include that somewhere in your pitch as well. So when you're pitching, these are some of the things that I think in general game developers definitely need to answer. You want to make sure that that you're capable of making the game. You have a plan, you have a team, you have a schedule, you have expertise, experience. All of those check marks will help bring confidence, especially if you're asking for a lot of money. And for for some of the PC projects that you may be considering, you may be looking for $50,000, $100,000 to get something up and going. You know, having expertise or access to this sort of these sort of things is definitely a plus for your partners or your investors. You have to have a solid business plan behind your pitch and make sure that it makes sense. I've seen a few business plans lately with just some crazy over-the-top assumptions. Make sure you have a plan for the company, because that's one of the things that any partner will do their due diligence on. Having a good game is fine, but if you've got no backbone to support it, no company or no experience running a business or that sort of thing, it makes it more difficult to get partners. And again, that's why I come back to my original proposition that if you're young, you're just graduating from college and university, and you've got a lot of talent and passion, it's a good thing to kind of cut your nails with say companies like ours or Big Blue Bubble or other industry developers, so you can start to get to acquire that experience and see this sort of thing firsthand and start understanding the business of video games. What platforms are you on? How does it fit into them? That sort of thing. You need to know your projections, your demographics. If you're doing a Facebook game, you take a look at how Facebook population models propagate, for the successful and not so successful games, and make your projections that are realistic based on those. And I guess the final point in whatever video game proposition that you're trying to pitch is you really need to focus on your key selling points, your unique features, your differentiation, especially in terms of your game ideas. We saw some of Mark's ideas on how he differentiated it, and you can't really come up with something crazy wild. I mean, whether you're combining Guitar Hero and Final Fantasy, sure, that can make a great recipe for a new game, but if you come up with something completely new that no one will understand, then that's probably not a good pitch either. So you'll see a lot of that sort of thing that Mark spoke about, where you know what's cool about Final Fantasy, you know what's cool about Guitar Hero. It's like, yeah, I can kind of start seeing that. It's like chocolate and peanut butter. That's awesome. Let's put that together. So that's a good way to go. So I think, yeah, like I said, for us, doing a pitch, we need lots of help. We ask everyone that we can, even a company like ours that's been doing it for 17 years. It takes about 6 months for us to sign a video game. It usually requires lots of trips to California, When you go to all of the industry events, GDC, we have to be in touch with all of the publishers, all of the key players. It's really one of the necessary evils, but we have to do it.